Let's talk about architecture and infrastructure, which is basically the blueprint and the building materials of IT systems. Architecture is the high-level design that shows how parts of a system are organized and how they work together, while infrastructure is the actual physical and virtual components like servers, networks, and storage that make everything run. On the exam, this shows up as questions like, which term describes the overall design of a system rather than its individual settings? And the correct mindset is thinking big picture, not cable by cable. The cloud is like renting computers on the internet instead of owning them, letting organizations scale up or down and pay only for what they use. A responsibility matrix in the cloud clearly defines who is responsible for security controls, patching, and data, so nothing falls through the cracks. Hybrid considerations come into play when a company uses both on-premises and cloud systems, which is why CompTIA may ask something like, an organization uses local servers and cloud services. What architecture model is this? And the answer points to hybrid. Third-party vendors also appear in questions that test supply chain trust, reminding you that if your vendor is insecure, your network is insecure too. Infrastructure as code, or IAC, means setting up servers and networks using code instead of clicking through menus, which gives automation and consistency. Serverless computing shows up in exam scenarios where you are asked who manages the operating system and hardware, and the key idea is that the cloud provider handles it while you only pay for execution time. Microservices appear in questions that compare monolithic versus distributed design, where the correct choice highlights small independent services that can be updated without taking the whole system down. Network infrastructure, physical isolation, air gapping, logical segmentation, and software-defined networking often appear in attack surface questions. For example, you might see which solution best prevents data exfiltration from a classified system, and the correct answer is an air-gapped network. Or which method limits lateral movement after a breach, which points to logical segmentation or SDN-controlled network zones. Centralized versus decentralized designs are tested when CompTIA asks about single points of failure versus distributed control. Containerization and virtualization show up in questions about resource efficiency and isolation. A typical exam scenario might ask, which technology packages an application and its dependencies to run consistently across systems, pointing to containers, while another might ask about running multiple operating systems on one server, which is virtualization. High availability appears in questions about redundancy and uptime, where the goal is keeping services online even when something fails. IoT, ICS, and SCADA are heavily tested in critical infrastructure scenarios. You may see questions like, which system controls a power plant's turbines in real time, which points to SCADA, or which environment uses PLCs and HMIs, which identifies ICS. These questions often connect to why security matters more when cyber attacks can cause physical damage, not just data loss. RTOS and embedded systems appear in timing-critical scenarios. CompTIA might ask which operating system is required for deterministic response in medical or industrial equipment, and the answer is RTOS. Embedded systems show up when the exam describes a device built for one specific function with limited resources, such as a controller in a car or a smart thermostat. The key takeaway is that CompTIA tests not just definitions, but how each architecture and infrastructure choice affects security, availability, and attack surface in real environments. If this helped you understand today's topic, consider liking and subscribing for more cybersecurity lessons like this.